I mean, I can understand the perspective of these people who say we don't want games and politics to be in the same room together. But I think the reason that they're able to say that is because they have not been in a position where games or politics have made their lives much more difficult. And I think maybe if they were put in a different position, they would think differently. The fact is that politics is kind of in everything. I mean, you know, all of the bits of your everyday life ultimately determine how you feel about politics. You know, how much you care about homeless people, what your views are on taxation or the economy, whether you ultimately believe that people are lazy or whether you believe that people are innately hardworking. All of these things kind of contribute to your personality, and then your personality determines how you vote. And then that vote determines who gets elected, and that then determines all of the things that feed back into the lives of everyday people. So it's a circular system. The fact is that every form of media says something about the world and about the culture. Every form of media has some kind of cultural message. It might not be explicit, and it might not be completely clear. It might even be difficult to determine what it is, even if you've studied it for a long time. But they all have effects on the people who play them or view them. And that means that I think you have to be quite careful when you make them. For example, there's a lot of people who have played the demo or they've seen the video for Spinnortality and they've said, how do you know that you're not just condoning this behavior where these incredibly powerful CEOs just manipulate and exploit every other person on the planet? How do you make sure that you're not perpetuating that behavior? And the answer is that, I mean, first of all, I can't be 100% certain that I'm not, which, you know, makes me a bit anxious. But also, I'm trying as hard as I can to frame the actions that you take in-game as having some kind of effect on the game world. So, for example, I introduced this mechanic of newspaper articles popping up. Like, if you destroy a government and you send a nation spiraling into anarchy, then there will be a newspaper article that pops up that says, you know, Australia sinks into anarchy, riots in the streets, that kind of thing. There are some which are a bit more hard-hitting, like when individual people or groups of people actually suffer some kind of really serious effect. Because I think it's important to show that this is not just theoretical. This is a game about actual systems that are actually impacting people's lives right now. Everyone will react differently, and the work will mean different things for them, and that's just how it is. There's no other way that could possibly work. But I still have a responsibility to try and bake in stuff into the work that I would like to see them interpret, if possible. If they don't interpret it, that doesn't mean that they're wrong. That's fine. But it's my job to try and sort of set them up to move towards whatever I'm going for. If you start to get defensive about how people are interpreting your work, maybe you did not set up people to interpret the work in the way that you imagined you did. And I ultimately believe that the author is the biggest authority on the work. They are the person who has the most interpretive authority, but that doesn't mean that they have complete authority. My strategy is to first of all focus on mechanics as the foundation of the game. The game runs on this mechanical system, which is pretty robust. It doesn't feel like it's a reskinned other game. It doesn't feel like the point has been kind of airdropped in. I start with the mechanics, I build this world in this system, and because I built it bearing in mind the topic I wanted to talk about, the topic emerges naturally from the system rather than being kind of stuck on. So that it feels sort of natural to play it, at least. And the other thing is that what I'd like to do is to actually cause people to have an emotional reaction, because if you just describe the process, then that's valuable, people will understand it. But if you have an emotional reaction, then that means that you're actually involved in the world and with the actions that you've taken as a character. Ultimately, when someone says that they don't trust me to portray this, then all I can really say is, well, I'm going to tell you why I think you should trust me. These are some ideas that I've had. Also, what ideas do you have? Because I think, it's kind of their job as concerned consumers to point out the fact that you might be misstepping, because they don't know you. But at the end of the day, all you can do is accept the fact that being a creator puts you in an odd position of power, and that does come with a certain amount of responsibility, and that you just have to sort of embrace that and do the best you can. You will not do it perfectly, because it's impossible to do that, but all you can do is to do your best and to try and make sure that you do more good than you do harm.